All right, so if you're interested in scaling your business, you've got to know your numbers. This is one thing I struggled with when I was first starting out is I wasn't tracking my numbers at all. So once I made the decision like, okay, I want to grow and scale my business, I didn't really have a game plan for how to do it because I didn't have any data to go off of. So I'm just going to break down in this video a super simple process that you can go through to basically forecast or project your monthly goals and see what you need to do to hit your monthly goals. So I'm just going to use a simple Word document here. And if you're interested in using this, just drop a comment or message me online or something. And I'll be happy to send this to you. But it's super simple. So we're going to start out up top. And I'm just going to use these numbers that I plugged in here for an example. But you just plug in your numbers for each of these different metrics. And then it will basically we'll calculate in this video what you would need to do to hit your goals based on these calculations. So I'm just using kind of like industry standard in the wholesale industry is typically $15,000 per deal. Success rate, this means how many of your contracts are actually closing. So, for example, 70% means if you get 10 contracts, three of those might fall out, whether it's title issues, you can't sell the deal, or something else. And seven of those would close. So that gives you 70% success rate. And then leads per contract. This just means how many leads you have to get into your CRM or whatever you're using to close a contract. And then offers per contract. This is more of a metric for either you or your acquisitions team to stay on top of. But basically, if you have to make 25 offers to get one contract, then you can use that data to grow and scale your sales team. So mainly these top three numbers are the ones that are most important. And I'm just going to go over the section where we're calculating next. So I'm using $100,000 a month as an example in this video, but you can just adjust this to whatever your monthly goal is. So the first line here, you would put in your monthly goal. And again, this is a super simple Word document. You can make this more complex, put in a spreadsheet if you want to, but I'm just going to use 100,000 for the monthly goal here. And so what you're going to do next is divide whatever your monthly goal is. So again, it could be 100,000, it could be 50,000, it could be 200,000, whatever you want to make every month in wholesaling, plug in that number right here, right? Or plug it in up top and then plug it in again right here. And then divide that by your average profit per deal. So right now, again, I'm using 15,000 as an example, but if you make 10,000 per deal, put 10,000. If you make 12,000, if you make 18, 20, 25,000, whatever you make on average per deal, plug it in here. And how you can find that number is just take the number of closed deals that you've had, I would say over the past year or so. And let's say you closed 10 deals and you made $200,000. Then that would mean your average profit per deal is 20,000. So all you have to do is take the total number of deals that you've closed and then the total revenue that you've generated from those deals and just divide those two. So again, let's say I'll just type it in up here, for example, but let's say average profit per deal. So again, let's say you made $200,000 in closed revenue and you closed 10 deals. Then you would take 200,000 divided by 10, and that would give you a $20,000 profit per deal. So that's how you would calculate that. And then again, you just plug it in right here. So for this example, I'm using $100,000 as the monthly revenue goal and $15,000 as the profit per deal. So that gives us 6.66. It's like a repeating decimal. So I just rounded up to 7, which means you would need 7 deals to close to reach your $100,000 goal. And actually, because 100,000 divided by 15 isn't perfect, then it gives us 6.667. So 7 times 15,000, you'd actually do 105 if you were using this exact math. So anyways, so next we would take how many deals you need to close in a month, and then you divide that by your current success rate. So again, this is going to change based on the person. So for us right now, we're actually are around 70%, but if you're doing like a nationwide model, you might be a bit lower, or if you're doing all, locally and you have a higher success rate, maybe your success rate is 80% or 90%, which means if you get 10 contracts, then 9 of them close, that would be a 90% success rate. So you're going to take the number that you got in this second line and you're going to plug it in here. So we need 7 deals to close at $15,000 a piece to reach our $100,000 goal. So next, we're going to divide that by our success rate. So again, just enter in whatever your success rate is. You can do that by taking all of the contracts that you've gotten over the last year, I would say. So the total number of contracts and then the total number closed, and divide those two. So let's say for easy math, you got 100 contracts and you closed 50 deals, for example, out of 100 contracts. Then your success rate would be 50%. So that's how you would calculate that. And again, for this example, I'm just using these numbers up top. So we would do 7 deals divided by 70% success rate, and that gives us 10 contracts per month that we need to get signed with sellers, because that means that 3 of those are not going to close and 7 of them will, and that will give us our $100,000 goal. So then lastly is we're just going to divide this by week so that you know what you need to focus on each week. So for this example, again, it's not perfect math because it gives us a decimal, but 10 contracts per month divided by 4 weeks in a month typically is 3 contracts per week. Technically it's 2.5, but we just rounded up to 3. So you would want to set your weekly goal to get 3 contracts per week. And then how are you going to do that? That's where these last 2 metrics come into play. So how you're going to do that is by generating leads and making offers. So if we know that it takes you 50 leads to get 1 contract and you need 3 contracts in 1 week or each week, then all you have to do is take however many leads it takes you to get a contract. So again, this is going to change based on whoever's business it is. Some people might be much higher, some people might be much lower. I know, for example, some of my friends who do Google ads, they close anywhere from 10 to 15. So theirs is much lower. So they might get 1 contract for every 10 leads they get in the business, which means if they want 3 contracts in a week, they just need to generate 30 leads. So whatever your number is here will impact however many leads you need to generate weekly. So again, for this example, it's 50 leads per contract. Multiply that by your weekly contract goal, which is 3, which means you need 150 new leads. So I should add that in, new leads weekly. And this equals out to 30 leads per day, Monday through Friday. Now, if you're also generating leads Saturday and Sunday, then you just divide it by 7. But typically, most people are working Monday through Friday. So that means to reach your goals, it all comes down to these numbers at the bottom here. Unless you change your leads per contract or your offers per contract, which we're not taking into account this in this equation. That's just more on the sales side. But so you can either work on decreasing your leads per contract, and you can do that by getting more motivated leads, which is typically inbound leads, which could be direct mail, Google ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads. Anything where sellers are reaching out to you are typically going to be more motivated. And if you're doing outbound, like cold calling, texting, or otherwise emailing or whatever other outreach you're doing, typically the leads per contract number is going to be higher. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking 30 leads per day is just totally not going to happen, it's out of my budget, then what you can do is just focus on decreasing your leads per contract. And you can do that by, again, focusing on more motivated channels or focusing on getting better at sales. And so this is pretty much the breakdown. It's as simple as this. So if you have a monthly goal that you want to hit, you plug that in here, you divide it by your average profit per deal, and then you divide how many deals you need to close by your success rate. This is very important because a lot of people might say, okay, I want to make $100,000 a month and I make $10,000 per deal, for example. So I just need to get 10 contracts. And then they get those 10 contracts. And then the next month, let's say they close 70,000. And that's because they had 3 of those deals fall out. You're always going to have fallout. It's really uncontrollable. Sometimes it is within your control. Let's say you lock up a property too high and you can't find a buyer and you have to cancel. That's your fault, and that's okay. That happens. But on the other side of things, there's a lot of times where it's outside of your control. Let's say you lock up a deal where you think it's a good price, but the seller didn't tell you the full story about the property, and you end up going to see it, getting photos of the property, and it just is way worse than what they described. Then in that case, it's not necessarily your fault, but the deal still doesn't work out because the property condition doesn't match up with what the seller told you. And another thing that can happen is just having title issues. Sometimes we come across properties, we lock them up, we get them sold, we're ready to close, but there's so many title issues that we either can't close at all or our closing is delayed 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So this is probably the most important part to include in your calculation, because that's how you get an accurate number. And if you use this calculation here and you actually stick to all these numbers, so for example, if these were your exact numbers here, the ones that I used, and you got 10 contracts and you had a 70% success rate and you closed 7 deals at $15,000 a pop, then you would reach your $100,000 goal every month. Now, obviously, some months you might have 5 deals fall out. Other months you might have 9 deals close. So it kind of varies. You can't, in real estate, you can't have an exactly consistent business every single month, but you can get pretty close. And especially if you're keeping track of your numbers like this. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I don't want to go too long. This is a pretty simple calculation, but you do need to know these numbers. So again, you just need to calculate your average profit per deal, your success rate percentage, which means what percent of your deals actually make it to closing. And then you need to figure out how many leads it takes you to get one contract. And I'll just remove this because we don't need that for this calculation. But the leads per contract, you can figure this out by how many contracts you got. So for example, let's say you got 10 contracts in the last year, just for easy math. And you got 10 contracts in the last year and you generated 500 leads. That would give us 50 leads per contract. So you just take the number of leads that you generated in total, divide that by the number of seller contracts you got signed, and that gives you the leads per contract. So once you have these three numbers, you can always track more data, and it's better to track more data, but these three numbers will let you reach the goals that you want to reach. If you just have these three numbers and you use this calculation, then you can obviously play around with a bunch of other things to improve that. But once you have these three numbers for yourself, you can plug them into this breakdown section right here, and then you can know exactly what to focus on to reach your goals. So hope that's helpful. Feel free to leave a comment if you like the video, if you want me to do any more breakdowns like this. And if you want a copy of this Google Doc, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just let me know. And thanks for watching. See you on the next one.